There is no change without challenge. And with any transformation comes a testing time, a trial, to see if we can be open to the possibility of not looking back. With the invitation of transformation or spiritual awakening in our lives comes many unknown territories where we have to learn our own way and find our own way step by step. And this really requires tuning in to that deep, deep place in the center of our heart, to the truth beyond our name, or our culture, or our living situation, or our relationship, but the truth beyond it all. The truth of who you really are is what you now need to call upon. Because the truth of who you really are will lead you to where you need to be. What happens during an awakening? And you can be a light worker in the midst of awakening, because we all can always advance in our own spiritual development and in our frequency and vibrational capacity. We don't compare ourselves to others. We don't say, well, I'm better than them, or they're better than me, and so I'm stuck here, or I don't need to move forward. We always are only challenging ourselves against ourselves. And when that is the case, we come to crossroads over and over again in our life. And we are perfecting the art of moving forward and not clinging to the past and the memories. Because when our thoughts are all in a turmoil and we have this inner conflict, it's because these deep memories are affecting our idea of the possibilities of the future. And every attempt we make to try again, to do something again that we feel we failed at, those thoughts about the past hold us back from future success. And so the idea is to stay as close to the moment as possible, and to do the practices in your daily life that will allow you to stay in the moment, because it's not a mental decision to stay in the moment, it's a physical occurrence. To practice the presence means to do the practices that allow you to change where your energy is coming from, to change the frequencies of your brain, and to flip over from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system, so that our energy is balanced at the point in the middle of the forehead, the pineal gland, and we can come from a space of equanimity, neutrality, and non-reactivity, which is what we need most in times of breakthrough or transformation. Because the truth is, a breakthrough is something we're being pushed against. And either we're going to become what it takes to break through, or we're going to break down. Breakthrough or breakdown. That's the test. In whatever way the universe has constructed for our unique situation, we will face that when we have been chosen, when we have decided to live a life of spiritual transformation and progress. More is required of you when your life is the life of spiritual development and evolution of consciousness, rather than accumulation of material things in samsara. Samsara, the world that is built upon nothing. Glitter, glamour, false promises, and will always end in disappointment. Because you will have to leave it all behind. And so when you are on the spiritual path and you are having a spiritual awakening and you are moving to another level of your own development, we're going to need to keep letting go of more things associated with the old way. You can call it a sacrifice, but truly it isn't. Truly, the sacrifice is not taking full advantage of the opportunity. Because what will happen is, even when we try to not meet the challenge, the things we thought were important to us are just different now. We want to keep trying again to make it feel the same way it used to feel when we do the same thing we always did, to feel empowered or to feel that we're soothing ourselves. But those things no longer work, and we start rejecting them. And we can get a little bit frustrated because the past isn't working. We have no idea what that means for the future, so here we are now. And probably we're being misunderstood because our family or friends will try to help us, which may only increase our frustration and our feeling of futility. Because until they have been in our place, they really don't know the solution. And it's not that it's a lonely road, but there are certain decisions that you have to make on your own because this world is a world of materialism. That's why we're here. We're here to procreate and to accumulate and to leave our seed behind through children or whatever. But the truth is, we are beyond this body. We are beyond the circumstances of materialism. And so when we have a difficult and frictional life, it is because, not that we are cursed, but it is because we are here to strengthen and evolve spiritually, which is the greatest blessing of all. And so when we're in the place of, I'm at a block, I had this awakening, everything was new and beautiful and bright, and I hit a block and I don't know what that block is. Where is the block coming from? And what can you do to dissolve the block? Because different parts of us are blocked in different ways depending on our karma, which can be seen through your astrological chart. Your karma is what keeps you down from advancing. And so in order to alleviate the karma or to burn it away, we call it tapas, which is concentrated spiritual activity, so that the karma is burned at a faster rate, that we are consciously burning the past rather than time taking its way with us, causing events to happen. We suffer, we're depressed, we keep going on, and pretty soon we burn that karma off and hopefully didn't create a lot more while in the process. But when we do tapas and when we train ourselves, we are maintaining and also burning away the past. And what tapas is it's concentrated spiritual activity. Because there is a fire within us. And that fire can either be digesting food or digesting the past. And so when we are fasting, for example, and we're doing it consciously, we are purifying ourselves not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And that's why fasting's really so hard, because of how it affects our feelings and our mind, and how our body reacts to those things, and how our mind reacts to our body, letting go. And so letting go is really the issue here. But the purification takes place when the fire is no longer trying to burn away the last meal or the last bad movie we watched or the last bad conversation, but now it is going into deeper levels of our being. And so just like when you eat food and your body starts to burn the food away in the digestive fire, when you do spiritual practices, that spiritual fire begins to burn away the past, particularly when that is your sankalpa, your intention, your motivation. When you have made the sankalpa to accomplish something and you keep your mind to it and you accomplish it, this is a huge breakthrough in itself. Because all the little things that we don't understand that make us get triggered or that scare us, that pull us back into the past, are the things we're working to overcome. And this just creates a very sketchy situation where we're very unsure, and understandably so. But when our mind is able to become more neutral and not so swinging both ways, we're able to hold the ground like the Buddha did and let those misunderstandings and fantasies about the past or future or anxiety or fear, let it dissolve, as it will if we just stay still and aren't identifying. Because the identification with the past of who we were and all the triggers that trigger who we were, when we're trying to advance to a different level of our possibility, it's going to be enticing to go with those things because they're familiar, they're comfortable, and we can probably predict the outcome. But the reason why we're in this place anyway is because that outcome isn't enough anymore. And so the block happens because something is pushing you and it's getting you all worked up, and it's confining you and it's holding you down. And in that place, you're building up the strength and you're trying to contain the frustration or the rage or the anxiety, and you're just like there. And there will come a time where you will break out or you'll break down. And so how you do that and how it goes one way or the other is truly up to you, and how connected you are to your heart. Because devotion and humility and trust and surrender will take you everywhere in this time. And most importantly, when you are at a block, slow down. Don't act out. Don't be impulsive. Keep your eye on what you want from your life. And do not react to fear of projection of what might happen, because what might happen doesn't matter. We're creating the future with our thoughts. What is happening is the moment where we're feeling fear. And whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Fear won't change that. What we need to do is be as aware and calm as possible in order to manage our life most effectively and do the work that we need to do to break through. Because you're going to feel anxiety and you're going to feel more emotional than usual. You're going to have memories coming up. You're going to feel alone and misunderstood or isolated or depressed. You're going to feel like all the things that brought you happiness or ease or pleasure before no longer work. You're going to feel like nothing is enough and nothing makes sense, possibly, and that you don't know why you're here and what's the point of any of this. And when people get to the place of what's the point of any of this, they tend to start self-destructing. Self-destructing is not a way to deal with where we find ourselves today. Because it's not like, oh, whatever, it's all over anyway. I'm just a total failure anyway, so let me destroy myself before this world destroys me. But you're buying into the program. And you want to get past that test. That test is, you thought maybe, we all think maybe that it's going to be so easy and we're going to feel so much better and so much less afraid when we become a spiritual person. And at first it's like that, and then all of a sudden we become more afraid. We become more unsure of ourselves. We're in this new territory and we're not getting what we pray for, and our answers aren't coming, and we feel like we're being ignored by God. But the truth is, our devotion must be without condition. Our love for God must be without condition. Our love must be unconditional if we are to merge with the beloved within ourselves and that is everywhere all the time. And so we can't pray just because we want something. We can pray for help. And we can have trust that whatever's happening is in our best interest, and we can know that we need to discipline ourselves to do the daily practices so that we can be in the correct state of mind to make the right decisions. That we will need to make decisions. We can't sit around praying and waiting for God to solve everything. We will need to make decisions based on a stable and clear frame of mind. And those decisions are the decisions we're making that enable us to be more productive on our spiritual path. And if those decisions don't come through, we can be thankful and say, thank you, God, for protecting me from a bad decision that I wasn't aware of. And if those decisions do come through, we can say, thank you, God, for blessing me on my path and helping me with my decision. But either way, when you look at it as, I'm doing the best I can, and so whatever happens is in my best interest, then you can be at peace with whatever happens. And you can completely trust and know that you can handle wherever you find yourself when God, the Divine Mother, is with you. The Divine Mother will never leave you if your love is true, because it all depends on you. God is always there. The Divine Mother is always there. but we turn our heads from her. We think that more is required of us than we have. We still want something in this world, and we think if we connect to God or the Divine Mother, that there's a rule that we can't have that thing, because that's not spiritual. That thing isn't spiritual. But the truth is, just like Jesus said, when you put God first, when you put the Divine Mother first, all these things will be yours. We are the creator of our life. It's just that when you think that's the solution, when I think that's the solution to my suffering, it's never going to be the solution to my suffering, something out there. But those things out there aren't wrong to pursue or to have. It's just that when I try to understand why I feel blocked or depressed, becoming more rich or more famous or more beautiful isn't going to be the answer. I can become more rich or more famous or more beautiful, but the answer to my peace and the answer to my truth is that I move closer to God and that I merge heaven and earth within me. And when I'm at a block, it's showing me that there are some things I need to do, because there are these opportunities. We come to these points and these crossroads. And in between the crossroads, things are kind of going pretty smooth, and then cataclysmic event or an emotional challenge or whatever. Something from the outside, something from the inside. The point is, we're being called from a very deep place to rise to the challenge. Just like Krishna told Arjuna, you might not want to fight this war, but you will keep being compelled to do so until you rise. There is no escaping this war we have in our hearts. The war is just a war of confusion and the past clashing with who we are to be. The fear, the anxiety, the self-doubt clashing with where God is pulling us. God is pulling us to the light, and being pulled into that light brings us many tests and challenges. What feels like a sacrifice, to let go of something. What you're being asked to let go of is just how much you don't value yourself. Let go of how much you feel unworthy. Let go of these lies you tell yourself about not being enough in so many different ways, because those things we're telling ourselves are creating our life now. And so when we have to come to a reality check and be like, oh wow, I feel so bad that I feel that way about myself, it's almost embarrassing, because I wanted to present myself as such and such, but then look at this little place I'm acting from. And it's embarrassing at first, and we want to avoid it at first because somehow there can be shame attached to this. But when we finally are forced to open up to the truth, like, I really do feel this way, and I really am acting as a person who feels this way, if I look deeply at my behavior, then I can see that while it's painful to acknowledge that, it's still the light that is causing me to understand that. And so the discomfort is a blessing, because now everything is different. Because now I can look at the person who felt that way and not identify, but pull that person up with a higher level of consciousness. And that will allow you to make better choices in your life of how to care for yourself and value yourself and know yourself to be the temple of the Mother Light. And when you do things like meditation and concentration, mantras, and mindful breathing, and exercise, and eating properly, and taking care of your environment, and honoring yourself as the divine, and honoring the divine, and doing this on a daily basis as if it were the most important thing in your life, even if it's for 5 minutes, but to know that that is your life, to know that that thing that you're deifying, that God, that goddess, is actually you. It's actually the mirror. Because if you don't have that, you're going to go out in the streets and drive around and look at all the buildings and all the people running around, and that's going to be your mirror. Or you're going to look at the terrible relationship of your parents or your whatever, and that's going to be your mirror. We don't have the right mirror. In this world, we can call it a role model, but we're reaching for the highest role model. Because the test is, do you believe who you can be? And what will you do to get there? Like, what will you do to really believe that you believe, to trust that you believe, to demonstrate that you believe. Believe in what? Believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who will believe in you? When you believe in you, everyone believes in you. And do you know how you believe in you? You face those tests and those challenges. However difficult they are, you face it with total grace. And you do not ever give up because you're afraid. And you keep getting back up, and you just brush yourself off, and you make that intention, and you just don't give up. You just not giving up is the victory. Because that is what will make us strong. It's lifting those weights. And those weights are different for all of us. And you know what they are for you. And you know what you've been through. And God knows what you've been through. And nothing is happening in our lives that we can't handle. And if it feels overwhelming, it's because we haven't quite gotten what is being required of us. Because there is an angle. Like Ramakrishna said, the winds of grace are always blowing, but we just need to get our sail in the right direction. No matter what is happening in our lives, no matter how difficult the block in our bodies, it is about the angle and getting in the winds of the grace. And when we are there, the answers come to us and our life starts flowing, and we can change our attitude, and we can drop our defensive arrogance, and we can humble ourselves, and we can bow, and we can bow again and again to the light within us. We can bow to others, to the light within them. Because when we know that the Divine Mother speaks to us through everybody, when we love her, the answers are everywhere. And when you are sincere and you believe that, you are living a life of grace. You are being guided by the divine. And this really is what the human life is about. The human life is about living in that light, to be that light worker, not to be living in the darkness and to be working for the darkness. And what is the darkness? The darkness is the things that keep us shrouded. The darkness is what keeps us living in confusion and monotonous repetition of past patterns that haven't worked for us yet, that haven't worked for our ancestors, but we compulsively keep recreating those patterns. We run from what we shouldn't run from, and we stay with the things we shouldn't stay with, because that's the groove. That's the test to make the quantum leap into the unknown with total faith, clarity, and responsibility. Because ultimately what this is about is that we are given a huge responsibility. And some people think that they can turn their back on that responsibility. But this time, clearly you know too much. And while we may think we can turn our backs, there's no getting out. The only way is through. And when we turn around and just start going back in that forward direction, everything starts coming to us again. We get our strength and our inspiration back. And we understand that we are never alone, that God always hears us, that the Divine Mother is guiding our lives. And when we let that happen, and when we become the vessel of God, then God removes the blocks. The Divine Mother removes the blocks, because the truth is, our karma is so overwhelming, we cannot get that list down and go, okay, check, check, check. It's never going to happen. We must be lifted by that grace, and we must take the actions to show that we are sincere and that we are focused, and all those blocks will miraculously dissolve. And when we live a life of love and appreciation, we are living a life of truth. And when we live a life of truth, whatever we need will be ours. You do not chase anything, you attract what you need. I do not chase anything, I will attract what I need. What is mine will find me. This is the power of the light within you. And so when you feel blocked, don't go back to the past. Sit sit in the space of that magic and chant the mantra and listen to the silence and hear the divine guidance and make the vow that you aspire to become the greatest worker of light that you can become in this life for the benefit of all sentient beings. May the Mother Light guide us and protect us. May the Mother Light guide you and protect you. May we live in grace, and may we always feel the presence of her love within us with every breath we take. Because it's really true that she is inside of you. So look there for the truth, and may the truth set you free.